We are live streaming.
Okay. All right. Did anybody hear from Mark?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Well, this is a good day to Zoom.
I did hear from Mr. Clay, who's not going to be able to join us.
Yes. Yes.
And then Joan's not going to be able to join us.
Okay. Well, it looks like it's us. Latrice, are you there?
She's muted.
Yeah, and she may have stepped away.
Muted.
But since we can't see her, I'm going to start the meeting. Let me call the meeting.
I'm here. I just could not unmute
myself.
myself.
Here's Latrice.
Trying to find it unmuted, but I'm here.
Oh, right.
Oh, you're here. Okay, good. Because we're going to call the roll. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Sure, and I'm going to go ahead and call everybody's name in case people are still logging in. Mark Barnes. Kim Dietzler.
Here.
Aaron Ginsberg.
Here.
Joan is absent. Latrice Johnson.
Here.
Gerald Lander.
Oh, Gerald's on.
He's not in his chair, but his
he's
avatar is here. Helen Nelling.
Here.
Kathleen Simpson.
Here.
Cindy Zerwas here. There's Gerald. See? We're doing a roll call.
Patrick Wall, Carrie Bruce, and Cindy Dykeman from the UCity Library.
Okay, thank you. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Bring them to you. Just bring my keys.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes from our January meeting?
Move approval.
Could I have a second?
I would like to second the approval.
Okay, Cindy, can you call the roll?
Kim Dietzler.
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg.
Aye.
Latrice Johnson.
Aye.
Gerald Lander.
Aye.
Helen Nelling.
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson.
Aye.
And Cindy Zerwas, aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. The next item of business is correspondence. Patrick, do we have any correspondence this afternoon?
I don't think we had any of notes.
Okay.
Not this month.
Okay.
Carrie, are you aware of any that we received?
I'm only that email from the gentleman about the parking lot.
Yeah, we did answer an email about the parking lot, as I explained in the committee meetings, about the moving of the handicap spaces, handicap accessible spaces.
Okay. Our council liaison was unable to join us this evening.
He did ask that I share the answer we received from the chief of police about the board's question last month about marijuana use in public areas. And the chief shared that, let me just read the email. All right. It's not going to work. Here we go. The chief said that civil infractions, it can still be a disturbance to anyone around, so complaints can be filed. Civil infractions can be crafted by the city to deter unwanted use in public spaces. And that was from the chief of police in answer to a board question last month.
I believe Councilman Clay sent that response to the board.
Okay,
and
great.
Well, there's some more context if you'd be interested in reading his email around. It's apparently you're not supposed to smoke in a public space. So
thanks for mentioning that email.
Yeah. And of course, we don't allow any kind of smoking in the library.
Yeah, no smoking in any public building, no smoking within 15 feet of the entrance.
Yeah. The librarian's report.
Yes, so we've got the consent agenda on the first items in the board packet. Is there anything that any member of the board would like me to pull out and discuss?
Yes. I would like Carrie to talk about.
And we've got that in our discussion items too.
Oh, you did. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone want to discuss one of the consent agenda items? Okay.
I have a couple questions, but I think they're farther down, so I think I'll wait.
Okay. In that case, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Oh, and Helen, you did want me to pull out some of the finance stuff, and I'll discuss that prior to the regular discussion items, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda minus the financial reports?
I'll move approval.
I would
Okay.
like to second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Cindy, would you call the roll?
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
Cindy Zerwas, aye.
Thank you. The consent agenda minus the financials is accepted. Our discussion items, Patrick, would you like to discuss the items around the building project that are not action items?
Sure, I'll go back to that. There it is. Okay. So the transformer, the large metal box outside the library was finally installed. That had been put off by weather a couple of times. So Ameren came out and did that. We're happy about that. They finished the lights and the ceiling on the second floor, and that passed inspection. They're working on, they've got the inspection scheduled, I think, for next week for the first floor on that.
I think the
They'll
16th.
start. I signed the change orders for leveling the floor in the bathroom. That one was the $6,935 change order. So they'll be starting on that soon and hope to get the bathrooms done fairly quickly. And they've got the plumbing fixtures coming in to be installed. And then, I said we're waiting for another change order for Maneri. They said they'd get that to us. That's for running 2 Cat 6 cables from the existing fiber optic DMARC, and then just running 2 Cat 6 cables to the server room. It'll cost us under $3,000 instead of the $11,000 plus it was going to cost to move the fiber. And there should be no noticeable change in bandwidth for that. It's basically, instead of moving the fiber and the router, we're just running 2 lines from the router, and that should be fine.
Okay, and I believe that deeper discussion was held in the committee meetings, and almost everybody was at one or both of those committee meetings. So we can move on.
Okay.
So Patrick and Kim and Carrie and I were due to go to Jefferson City for Library Advocacy Day. Patrick was downed by COVID, and I'm having a little surgery next week, and my doctors would not let me go be around all those people in Jefferson City. So would Kim and Carrie like to discuss what?
Tell us how it went.
Yeah. How was Advocacy Day this year?
Great.
It was really fun. It was very interesting. I learned a lot about our legislative process. And it was fun hanging out with Carrie and Krista for most of the day. And yeah, what's more fun than a bunch of librarians?
Was there any discussion about the Secretary of State's proposal?
Yes, the Secretary of State spoke himself, and, acknowledged that he knew he was in a room full of people that didn't probably agree with him on the rule. He did seem to indicate that, the rule is going forward. There have been changes made that we can expect to see a draft of next week. He said a week and a half. So from presumably sometime next week, if not early the following week. Though of course we disagree with the rule in general, a lot of the language that made it so ambiguous as to restrict any purchasing of materials seems to have been clarified, or at least that's what we've heard from the secretary. Yeah.
Did he show you?
You said something like sorry, go ahead, Cindy.
I was gonna say, did Ashcroft show the people who were there yesterday an updated version of where this rule is now?
No, the official new language will be is still being worked on, and
I see.
would be released next week. I guess it has to go through different people, and then when he releases that to publicly, then it'll also go to JCAR, and I think they determine if there has to be an additional comment period.
Okay.
Did,
Did you say that the Secretary of State had indicated that on the state funds we should just use it for building and other things, so that way we don't run afoul of don't use it for books he might not like if we're just using those particular funds just for building issues or something?
Who said that?
I don't know if he was, so the Secretary of State recommended in the Appropriations Committee that it be approved that libraries be able to use the state aid and the athletes and entertainers tax money for the first time. And Krista said, at least since Linda Ballard was here, that we'd be allowed to use it on brick and mortar, because it's pretty strictly no purchase, no building stuff, I understand.
You could always use it for ongoing just budgetary items, but not for buildings itself, doing projects, huh?
Right, and he acknowledged that it's not really enough for a big capital improvement project, but that it's at least something that can help with maintenance, or a slightly less intensive kind of project or something like that. Yeah. So that's not official. I mean, that's his recommendation. So it does still have to be approved by I guess the Appropriations Committee.
And the Secretary of State's budget was before appropriations yesterday morning at 8 a.m. too, right?
Yeah. So he came straight from there and spoke with us.
I understand that the ACLU is working with school librarians right now, and I'm hoping that our association will be working with the ACLU if this rule goes through. And I don't know if you've all read the comment by the Washington U law professor, but there's unconstitutionality rife throughout this. So
Thank you, whoever sent it. Thank you for sending it.
that was Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick sent that out. Yeah. And I think that would be a really interesting read for the Secretary of State.
Yeah, I called the state librarian, left a message with her. I haven't gotten back in touch with her. She might have called the office, but haven't seen that yet. So.
Yes, I was.
I'm reading a lot into it, but I think that some of the changes that he made were in direct response to at least the legality of, because of that ambiguousness. And I wondered if it was because there was a couple of comments similar to the WashU law professor. And I wondered if it was almost like a direct reaction to those, because it sounds like his intent is that that language got tightened up enough that hopefully there wouldn't be challenges.
And I was also wondering if some parents might sue because their children were not allowed to read certain things because, libraries had to deem them.
Yeah, Carrie, can you tell me that thing you told me about that yesterday? Yeah.
So some of the language that was questioned was sort of like there was a particular place where it said like a child versus something, and so he said they tightened up the language on that, so it's like their child or that child, so making it so that the rule is about a parent's individual right and not right over any person over any child.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to.
I mean, obviously, still not the desired outcome, which is like total overthrowing.
Yeah.
But, the ACLU, I attended a meeting with the MLA where the membership voted whether they would sort of tack their approval and interest in helping with the ACLU's work with the teachers and related to that teachers law, and like condemning the law and sort of also condemning the proposed rule, I think. But their real work is on is helping the teachers who are and teacher librarians who are affected by that law that makes that they can go to jail. And I think they're very much up in arms and very much sympathetic, but it sounds like from the meeting that I attended, because people had a lot of questions about how, and they said, well, basically, if no one's getting arrested, they don't necessarily have like a foothold. So it's sort of like keep their eyes open and wait until some of that other legislation that's been pre-filed might be passed. And then they go and challenge arrests or charges.
Can I ask Carrie, did Randy have any idea about any particular pieces of legislation that are coming down the pike regarding book bannings?
The biggest things seem to seem more explicitly to be related to like the drag. I mean. Oh. And none of it was directly related to libraries, but there's some legislation on the about that can businesses hosting any type of drag performance in the HB 498 includes businesses that host drag performances in the definition of a sexually oriented business. And even though the law or the bill does appear to be bill does appear to be directed at commercial enterprises, that he said it's in his opinion the language is open enough that it could include libraries.
And I assume they're going to go arrest Tony and Jack Lemmon.
And Flip Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to keep our eyes very open. Were you able to meet with Joe and Brian and I can't remember the third.
Ian Mackey.
Yeah.
We didn't have a chance to meet with Brian Williams. He was in meetings and out of the building for most of the day when he wasn't directly in session. But we had a really great visit, I think, with both Ian Mackey, who is just pretty awesome, I think, and with Joe Adams, who was really encouraging and really excited about the building.
They
Well,
both expressed
former-
interest in coming to our grand opening,
Yeah.
so we need to remember to give
Aw.
them invitations.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think they should all be invited.
Yeah, well, definitely, we'll Carrie and I will put together a list of,
Yeah.
VIP.
Yes.
besides everybody in New City, people will send specific
Yeah.
invitations to all former board members, the friends, all this, everyone at City Hall, and then state and county officials.
Yeah.
Just a note, if we're looking at a particular date, and we want like Joe Adams or Ian Mackey to be at the opening, I don't think we're going to move it for one particular person, but if it's like between a couple weekends, the session lets out at May 15th. So he said, as long as it's after May 15th. But otherwise, we can certainly offer them like a special tour or something like that.
Okay. Moving on to the action items, there is not a payment request from Rainier.
There is not.
But we may, heads up, we may have to have a special session for a couple of payment and proposal approvals.
Yes, while we were in committee meeting, we got the final furniture thing, but just a quick glance shows that there's still some stuff on there we'll have to fix.
Okay. Let's look at the, we do need to approve the change order for the gallery walls. And that is for $25,688.04. And if you want to do a round number, I'll kick in the 4 cents. The reason is because we have to have the plywood between the drywall and the fabric finish. I hope I'm using the right terms. Otherwise, we'll have deterioration and difficulty. And perhaps even difficulty with the things that we're going to mount. We did discuss this in our committees, and both the budget and the and finance and the building and grounds committees recommended that the board approve this change order. Does anyone have?
I'm sorry. No, I just want to know, did you want to lump that with the other change orders, or you want to do them?
This is the only one that needs board approvals.
This is
okay.
the only change order we're, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought
Are there any
mountable walls? Oh, this is a change order.
Yeah, this is just a change
No,
order.
that's a
not
proposal, not a change order.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the change order
Second.
For $25,688.04. Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further? Okay, Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Erin Ginsberg,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwis, aye.
Okay, the change order is approved. The next item of business is to approve the proposal for the demountable wall system. We're not going to do the furniture tonight, just the demountable and the signage proposals. We did discuss these in the committee meetings. And almost everybody was at the committee meeting. So if you weren't there or you need further clarification, please say so, and we'll take a dive into them.
Otherwise, I move approval.
And I would like to second.
All
And this
right.
is for $100,755.25.
But that is not a payment. That is just approval of the proposal?
Yeah, this would involve paying 50% in advance.
Okay. Is there any discussion? A motion has been made and seconded to approve the demountable wall and the signage proposals and to pay the 50% of the expense.
Oh, wait, the sign, you're lumping the signs in?
I don't.
No, this is just the demountable walls.
Just the
Just the
walls.
demountable walls.
Just the walls.
And can I just clarify that the initial payment will be $50,378?
Yes,
Just
so clarified. Cindy, would you like to call the roll?
Sure. Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye. Sorry, trying to.
that's okay.
unmute it. I'm sorry.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion carries for the demountable wall proposal. Patrick, can you bring up the signage proposal?
Yes. Is that showing?
Gotta go
Can you
down a
scroll
little
to the
bit.
bottom?
Yeah, just it
Down
always
just a little.
looks good to me, but I can never tell if you guys can see it or not. So there we go.
Okay. All right, the signage proposal comes in at $51,784 and this also includes a deposit. If you scroll just a little more, we can see the payment schedule. The payment schedule is also 50%.
Wait, why is that number different than what's on the agenda?
I saw on the
the
agenda
original-
the initial
Sorry,
thing I sent
looked in
out.
the wrong. Never mind.
Okay.
I just looked in the wrong sentence.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Are there any other questions or discussion? In that case,
Can I make a motion that we pay the 50% deposit and approve the proposal for $51,784 for the signage?
is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the signage proposal as well as the payment of the 50% deposit. The total being $51,784. Is there any additional discussion? Cindy?
Okay, Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
Okay, the motion passes and that proposal is accepted and a deposit payment will be made. The next item of business is the president's report. And I would like to, first of all, mention that our previous council liaison, Tim Cusick, you may know, has resigned from the University City Council because he is moving to Arizona. And we will miss him. His house was flooded for the third time this summer, and he told me that as he was fixing up the house, he said to himself, "I have always wanted to live in the desert, and if I don't do it now, I'll never do it." So he has bought a property in Tucson, Arizona that has 2 acres. And he is actually back in town this week just to get the house ready to go on the market. But I did ask him if, as one of our super users, when we get to the point in the LRP project where we're asking users if he would participate, and he said he would be very happy to.
Oh, that's great.
And he's also, I asked him what he was going to do with himself, and he was thinking of volunteering at there's a nature preserve near him. And I suggested, and he thought it was a really good idea, that he find a library, volunteer at his library, and perhaps become a member of the board.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll miss him. Also, in my report, I would ask that if, I know it's a little early, but if you were thinking you might like to run for office of this board, think about that and let us know, because that election, it actually is right around the corner. Patrick, would you like to explain the timing of that?
Yes, so we'll have the nominations and any slates of candidates at the April board meeting. And then at the May meeting, have a vote for officers taking office in June of 2023. Okay. For 1 year. All officers can run for up to 2 consecutive terms. And we do have to, I have to get back in touch with Mr. Clay. I got the recent board terms from Laurite Reese, the city clerk, and we apparently neglected to get a couple people reappointed, but we'll rectify that.
Okay, but that will all be taken care of.
Yes.
Okay. And then Cindy, would you please go over the schedule for our review of Patrick's performance?
That is a multiple step process that we do every year. I'm not prepared to go into all the details, so pardon me for doing this on the fly. But the way it has worked in the past is that we send out a survey to all the board members, and you all get to evaluate Patrick, and then we come back together and vote on it.
Okay. And actually, Cindy and I are going to discuss that offline, but I believe in the past we've sent that out in March so that we can come back together on that in April and do something in May. So,
yes.
Okay. Other than that, I do not have anything else. Mark's not here, so there will be no long-range planning report. Cindy, do you have anything on personnel and policy?
I'll just report to the board officially that we met as a committee 2 weeks ago, and Patrick brought up this great idea of webinars for board members, of taking training sessions that you would have a choice in what you take, and some are shorter and some are a little bit longer, and it sounded like a great opportunity. I don't have any details on that now. We also talked about the Secretary of State's proposed rule, and Carrie carefully updated us on all of that. And the Personnel and Policy Committee will meet again in 2 weeks. I guess that's the 25th at 2:30.
We can actually have those board training things during our meetings too.
Yeah, the short takes for trustees.
Yep. Yep.
I just wanted to give people a heads up that that's coming, and that educational opportunity is available.
And that would be a best practice for us as a library.
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
Helen, I'm going to have to leave early.
okay,
I think everything on the building and grounds has been discussed already, and most of you
As a-
most of you were at the meeting, and I think
Yeah.
Patrick has covered everything else. So
yeah. As a matter of fact, Patrick and I talked about moving those committee reports higher in the agenda so that building and grounds could say, we approve that, you know, we recommend this, and
okay,
budget and finance, you know, could say that. So it's not such old news by the time we get to the committee report.
Well,
Have a
that's
nice evening, Gerald.
thank you.
Thank you, Gerald.
Is there any old business?
Well, I have a couple of questions, if people will tolerate my persistence, that I didn't know when was the best time to bring them up. So, Patrick, these are all going to be directed at you.
Okay.
In the packet on page 22, there was it was the youth services report, and there was a talk of somebody writing a grant proposal to do a community garden for children, and it sounded like a wonderful idea. And I'm wondering if, I realize this is still very early and we haven't gotten to the point of even getting the grant, but would whoever is in charge of that work with UCity and Bloom?
Yes.
I would like the best outcome for all involved.
No, Stephanie was, it's part of her spotlight on literacy grant application. And yes, she asked if we could reach out to UCity and Bloom. And luckily for one-stop shopping, Judy Prangy from UCity and Bloom, but also from the Parks Foundation, talked about the garden aspect of it and the story walk in the park aspect of it. And she's taking that to the Parks Commission for us, the story walk part. And then she'll meet with us, or have Jesse come over and talk about what will grow in a couple of different spots that we could do that in the front east of the door in front of the library.
So it would be in front of the library.
Yeah.
Okay, I was curious where they were going to put it.
That's where we're thinking, just like a raised bed with some things that we could grow there.
Great. I have another question from page 22 that talked about staff development, the number of hours that it would take to operate our library once we move back into the building. And I was curious if you had any data on the last time you did that kind of an evaluation. I'm assuming it would have been before the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of an ongoing thing. You know, we're scheduling every week for coverage on the desks and for events and programs. And as we get back into the building, there'll be a little more, you know, for instance, since youth services will now be upstairs on Friday nights, and on weekends, we'll want to have 2 people there instead of 1. So that'll lead to some more staffing in youth services, just because they're so, you know, semi-isolated up there. And then we'll take into account the increased. We'll be beginning our in-house story times, the Read to a Dog program, and some more programs for adult services too in the library. So we'll be looking at all of that.
Do you anticipate a big jump?
Not a big jump, no. But I mean, we're about 200 hours per 2-week pay period below what we used to run when we were in 6701.
Oh, okay. So if we hired a couple more people, we would just be coming back to staffing levels that we had, say, 3 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. I was just trying to get some clarity on that.
And we've moved a couple, we tried to economize by, changing a couple of positions, mostly in the shelving area. So but we'll definitely need a few more people, at least upstairs, and probably, and then just ongoing things. Our part-time reference librarian was promoted at her full-time job to be an assistant manager of one of the county branches now. So she'll be doing a lot fewer hours for us, and we'll be looking for another part-time reference librarian too.
I was just curious if we were offering more in services and that was reflected in.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be upping the service level. Some of that'll just be filled by, doing things differently, where we won't be doing an online program. We'll be doing it in person.
Okay, I had another question. It's from page 27, and it was in the middle of the change orders. And I was a little perplexed. There was a couple of interesting pages in there about REAL. It's an acronym that stands for Remote Electronic Access for Libraries to help people in rural areas. I don't know why that was in the middle of the change orders.
That was because it demarked the discussion item of the earlier change orders, and the next change order was an action item. So this was actually this is some of the stuff from the the library advocacy day. These are
I see.
This is what the state provided all librarians and board members who were going around with, what Mornet's doing, and then, what public libraries in general are doing around the state.
The first page of it was really interesting to me. I got a little lost in the second page of it when it was talking about bandwidth capacity. And I was wondering what our library's bandwidth capacity is and how we fit into all of that. Which one of those colored bar graphs applies to us?
Yeah, we're the over 100. We're at 250 megs right now with the new cabling throughout the building and the new switches that we had gotten before we moved. We now have gigabit access, our gigabit capability. So we can go faster now.
I figured we were, but I just was gonna check because I hadn't heard you ever discuss it before.
I think that continues to be an issue though for rural libraries.
Right.
And
even the possibility of
rural institutions in general. Yeah.
That was one of the things we talked to our legislators about yesterday. That was one of the main topics, that and just expanding broadband in rural Missouri so that patrons have access to digital resources.
It's a great idea. I totally agree with it. I just needed a little background explanation there. Thank you, Patrick. And lastly, I have a question on the packet from page 29, where it talks about public library funding. And there was a dip from 2006 to 2009. Do you know why there was a dip in funding, Patrick?
2006 to 2009.
2016 to 2019 in the bar graph.
Yeah. Our former Secretary of State, despite being beloved for many things, was not a friend to public libraries, and the Secretary of State cut funding. He didn't so much cut funding as he did a couple of things to hamstring the state library, which led to his funding being cut.
Okay.
And at the same time, the governor was also withholding funds.
Oh. So now
so we've always appreciated Jay Ashcroft's enthusiastic push for full funding for public libraries.
Okay, that's good to know, particularly in this climate.
Yeah,
I remember discussion, a lot of discussion about that in the 2020 Library Advocacy Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
It's all good.
We were excited that
Mr. person running for senator from the state of Missouri, who came very close, had recently cost himself the vote of every librarian in the state of Missouri. So,
okay. Is there any new business? I don't think that there is anyone on from the public who wants to comment. Therefore,
yeah, we received no notice of request for public comment either.
Yeah. Therefore, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
All
Everyone
right.
have a great evening.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the streaming.
Bye-bye.